Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou katoa e ngā piringa o te whare. I runga e nei āhuatanga i tātu kupu e koro hiake ana. Nō reira, rauranga tira mā te minita huri noake nei. Ki te mōtū nei, tātou haumai o tāhurutanga tēnei whare. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. It is indeed our honour to be here this evening. Just a few words of explanation so that it's about inclusivity. More comfortable in our reo. So I'll be reverting to te reo Māori shortly, but I just need us all to understand what I'm talking about and the blessings that we're about to lay. In the past, please come up to me afterwards and come and meet Whiti Hereaka, and he's present tonight. We're representing mana whenua, which includes mana whenua, the whole 16, 17, 18, 19 mana whenua. This karaua is pakeke, Papa Bob Hawke, commonly known as, rest his soul. We're representing Papa Bob because Papa used to open these festivities in the past. So we are his children. I'm his favourite son-in-law. This is his daughter. This is Tui.
Kia ora.
So, Tui graces us to hold the mana of her father and the capacity that he held over many festivities and blessings across this city. So just as a word of explanation for us all. At the end of our Karakia, just follow my hands, people. Our Karakia this evening is not a religious one, but it includes all religions. So please feel included. It's more of a spiritual blessing, one of earth, wind, fire and water, and blessing the people and their skills, who earthed yourselves and put it to pen. I'll put it to computer. You breathe your own breath of life into your work, and that's the wind. The fires are the fires in the belly, and the fires and the stories that you recreate and bring back for us, lest we forget. And of course, everyone, 80% of us is water. And we bless tangaro ararau, tangaro whakamautai. May we be well, and may we be blessed with the tides as we go. And may your seas be calm. And if ever you hit a bit of turbulence, take out a book and enjoy, and find the peace that dwells within. Somewhere along the line, we've got some water. This water is from Ockham Bay. Papa's house. Papa's house used to be, you got Ockham Bay, and you got some toilets there, and you got a pedestrian. Well, straight across the road is where Papa Bob Hawke, Whiti Hereaka, where he grew up, where he lived down on the bottom, on the flat there. And so this water is from Ockham Bay. It's Papa's water. So we want to make him such an integral part of our evening in our celebration. And if you hear me saying te hau, te ahi, te wai, me te whenua, those are our tupua, earth, wind, fire, water. I'm going to bless our occasion also, just in case there may be some new names that we're going to bring to the forum. There may be some new books. There may be some new ideas. But, we all come with new and replenished hearts this evening. So we're going to bless the newness of our lives and the newness of our readings with the water, with Papa's water as well. If I forget that, Tui's going to hit me and then I'll remember to ensure we cover everything this evening. So it's a pleasure to be here. To all of our people that have shared the words, ngā mihi nui kia koutou, Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. I'm going to do our karakia and our mihi all in one. I'm going to stack it all in one, then we can sing one song. And our song is He Honore Kororia. If you take a look on my back, you'll see Honore Kororia. That was Papa's favourite song. So we'll all sing that along. If you don't know the song, who cares? It's honour and glory, peace on earth, goodwill to all people. That was Papa. And I'm sure, that was the essence of the writings that we're about to enjoy this evening. Nō reira tēnā tātou katoa. Tui au ki te rangi, tui au ki te whenua, tui au ki te moana, ka rongo te pō, ka rongo te ao, ka rongo tēnei ko te moka tangata, taki a mai rā, ki tā te kupu e kōro hiake ana. Rei te tīmatanga te kupu ko te atua noa taua kupu ko te atua noa te kupu ko te tīmatanga. Nāna nei ngā mea katoa i hanga kāoro te te heme, te kora te hanga ngā mea hanga ia. Ko ia te ora te kaha, te ora te maia, te ora te mana wanui. Nō reira tēnei anu hoki te Māori. Te Māori e whakatau nei ko te Māori o tēnei kura. Tēnei te Māori kātau ko te Māori o tēnei whānau. Tēnei te Māori kātau ko te Māori o Ranginui a Tui Honei. Tēnei te Māori kātau ko te Māori o Papa Ua Nuku e toko te waka nei. Tēnei te Māori kātau ko te Māori te rau o te aroha. Tue ia maira tōna mana, tōna ihi, tōna wana, tōna wehi, tūkana mai he Māori tū, he Māori ora, uhi, waero, tau mai te Māori, haumi e, hui e, taiki e. Your line is taiki e. When I say haumi e, I'm asking, hey everybody, are we bound together? Haumi is a sacred tie. On our traditional navigational waka, it's a sacred tie. The wetter the waka got, the tighter the bind became. So when I'm saying haumi, are we bound together? Hui e, hui, this is the hui, are we united? And your reply is taiki e. So your response would be appreciated. Here's the love that dwells within the whare. Haumi e, hui e, taiki e. That's the bugger. Sing our song. Honore Kororia. Haramai. Toro.
He honore, he kororia, mangarongo ki te whenua.
Honor and glory.
Akaro, pai e ki ngā tangata katoa.
The thoughts to all people. Peace on earth. Forever and ever. Our tua, our essence. Our solidarity. That's our salvation. E honore, glory, honor and glory. Good thoughts to all people. Forever and ever. Our spiritual essence. Keeps us all together. Good to send with a blessing with our water. Kia ora tātou iau ka ia Hereaka rere no te waipuna ariki. Iau ka rere no tāne te wai ora, ia ka rere no io te wai ora. Whakaahu papatea te wai noa tua ki te wai kaipo o papa tua nuku. Whakaahu rangitea te wai noa tua, te mana whai ora tira tawhito, tēnei te matatau ka eke uhi. Waero, tau mai te Māori, haumi e, hui e! Tai ki e! Kia ora tātou.
Nā mihi nui kia korua e kui e matua. Nā mihi nui kia korua mo te mana me te wairua I o mihi whakatou. Thank you, Tui and Blackie, for your mihi. We feel honoured that you've given this event your blessing. Ladies and gentlemen, special guests, tēnā koutou katoa, nā mihi nui. I'm Nicola Leggett, Chair of the New Zealand Book Awards Trust. And on behalf of my fellow trustees, I'm so delighted to welcome you to the 2022 Ockham New Zealand Book Awards, the 54th year of our National Book Awards. As you know, the Auckland Writers' Festival has moved to August this year, which is why we're in this new venue and hosting a smaller audience than usual. We are very aware that COVID is still a real thing in our world, and so we are grateful to all of you for your decision to come and support this event tonight, and we empathise with those who felt that attending was not right for them this year. Welcome to those who are watching us from elsewhere on the live stream. A warm welcome to our special guests, including the Minister for Arts, Culture and Heritage, the Honourable Kamau Sepuloni, Auckland Councillors Josephine Bartley of Fiso Collins and Pippa Coombe, and the Chair of the Auckland Writers' Festival Trust, Pip Muir, her fellow trustees and festival patrons. A warm welcome and enormous thanks go to our funders. Ockham, our cornerstone partner, whose great vision and generosity sustains these awards, and it's great to see so many of the Ockham whānau and friends here tonight. Jann Medlicott, through the Acorn Foundation, the truly wonderful funder of our generous fiction prize. Creative New Zealand, loyal supporter for several decades. Booksellers Aotearoa New Zealand, supporters of the Illustrated Nonfiction Award. Peter and Mary Biggs, whose long commitment to supporting New Zealand poets drives their support of the Poetry Prize. And the Crystal Arts Trust, the generous new funder of all 4 of the Best First Book Awards. Our thanks to you all are heartfelt. Sincere thanks to go to the Auckland Writers' Festival Trust and to the festival team, which has been so helpful to us in staging the event here at Q Theatre. We truly value our partnership, which has really come to the fore at a quite challenging time. Thanks to the festival's production supremo, Vicky Cooksley, and her crew. Thanks to the team at Q Theatre, we really love the feel of this space. Thanks also to the Academy of New Zealand Literature, which has assisted in several aspects of the awards campaign. And special thanks to the Book Awards Trust Manager, the marvellous Belinda Cook, who has worked so hard to make this event possible, and to the awards administrator, the unflappable Chris Chan. Thanks to our bookseller, the Women's Bookshop, who has a stall here tonight. I hope you've noticed that as you walked in. And indeed, thanks to the booksellers of this land, who in the last year have had to be so nimble through lockdowns and red restrictions, but who have kept selling the books and keeping our sector buoyant. Tonight is a very special night for the New Zealand Book Awards Trust, as we announce our new Te Reo Māori name, gifted to us by Tā Timoti Karetu and Pānia Papa. It is Te Ohu Tiaki I Te Rau Hiringa. As Tā Timoti and Pānia explained to us, these are its elements. Te Rau Hiringa is the name for the awards made from rau, which, as you know, is a play on the words either leaf of a tree or pages of a book, or 100 or many. Hiringa means inspiration. So hundreds of leaves of inspiration is a very loose translation. And the name for our trust, Te Ohu Tiaki I Te Rau Hiringa, is made up of ohu, a company of workers who look after something, tiaki, to take care of. We feel this is just perfect. We are so grateful Tuta Timoti and Pania. And our warmest thanks go to them for a very, very special gift. And so to tonight's category finalists, 16 fantastic authors who demonstrate so vividly how critical books are to our national conversation. Last year was another really challenging year for writers and publishers, with many launches missed and bookshops and research libraries and archives shuttered, especially in Auckland. And so to be here together tonight feels especially sweet. And I'm sure that it will be especially exciting for the large number of first book authors who are finalists tonight. Congratulations to all our finalists and winners. We're also happy for you and proud of you, and it will be a great privilege to hear you read to us tonight. Behind these authors stand their publishers who invest in them and believe in them. We salute you, as we do the booksellers who put their books into readers' hands. Thank you to our 13 heroic judges who last August started with 160 entries and have read thousands upon thousands of words and engaged in deep conversation with each other to select the 4 winners plus 4 best first book winners to be announced tonight. Please allow me to thank them individually now. For general non-fiction, Nicholas Reid, Aaron Smale and Leilani Tamu. For poetry, Sarada Korala, Apirana Taylor and Jane Arthur. For illustrated non-fiction, Chanel Clark, Patrick Reynolds and Jane Connor. And for fiction, Rob Kidd, Gemma Brown, Kellyanna Moray, and our international judge, John Freeman. Whoever wins tonight, may I urge you, if you haven't already, to read their books. You can buy them out in the bookshop afterwards, and you might be able to grab an author to get a signing as well. Writers and publishers, ngā mihi nui, me tau aroha nui. It is my great pleasure now to welcome to the stage the Minister for Arts, Culture and Heritage, the Honourable Carmel Sepuloni.
Kia ora koutou. I think along with many of you, I'm very delighted to be here with you this evening in person as we celebrate the Ockham New Zealand Book Awards, an iconic literary event which is 54 years old this year. It's great to see the ceremony presented live for the second year running after the pandemic forced the 2020 event online. There's nothing like old school in person with all the wonderful vibes you get from a gathering of writers and book lovers. Tonight belongs first and foremost to our 16 finalists, all gifted New Zealand writers in different stages of their careers. I congratulate you all on being shortlisted for all these awards and most particularly on the important contribution you make to Aotearoa in your chosen profession. Paula Morris once described the life of a writer as sitting down to work day after day, month after month, with nothing but language and imagination. It is a hard and demanding profession, and not one in which it is easy to make a living. I know this because I'm married to a poet. But life would be unimaginably poorer without our writers. Their words reflect our nation and the many different people within it, while giving us a powerful voice in the international community. Our writers challenge and ask hard questions in ways that we can all identify with. And over time, as a profession, they make a priceless contribution to the evolution of thought, understanding, and ideas. This year, we celebrate 16 of our finest writers. Whatever the outcome of tonight's announcements, each finalist can already bask in the knowledge that they have been shortlisted by expert judging panels and that their works are highly regarded by those who understand the many elements that create an outstanding book. The Ockham Book Awards play a very important role in lifting the profile of literary achievement and showcasing the quality of literature produced by the people of Aotearoa. They are a huge milestone in the career for the winners, as well as providing significant material support. Now in their sixth decade, these awards are deeply embedded in the cultural heritage of Aotearoa and are a highly anticipated event every year. I take this opportunity to thank the New Zealand Book Awards Trust for its tireless work in ensuring recognition for this nation's authors, poets and publishers, encouraging readership and helping foster a healthy book sales industry. Thank you also to the awards sponsors and supporters for your vision and your belief in the critical role literature plays in the cultural lives of all New Zealanders. I also want to acknowledge the long-standing commitment of Creative New Zealand and predecessor organisations for providing support for our National Book Awards since the mid-1970s, including what has grown to become the prestigious Ockham New Zealand Book Awards. And last but not least, a special shout out to our publishers for their commitment to New Zealand publishing, and most particularly for the creativity and resilience they have shown in the challenging business conditions of the past 2 years as the cancellation of festivals and other events impacted opportunities for publicity and sales. It is hugely encouraging that there was a more than 10% growth in the sales of New Zealand published adult fiction and non-fiction books between 2020 and 2021, according to the Nielsen book scan. And despite barriers to international markets, New Zealand writers and books are increasingly being recognised in a range of prestigious international literature competitions and publishing awards. This success is testament to the hard work of authors, publishers, marketers and booksellers, and also a tribute to the important place of books in the lives of our fellow New Zealanders. It is wonderful to see the resourcefulness also at play here with innovations such as digital rights catalogue led by the Publishers Association of New Zealand and supported by Creative New Zealand that has been helping New Zealand publishers showcase their wares at international book fairs without the need to travel in person. And as I stand surrounded by New Zealand's writing community tonight, it is heartening to think of the increasing number of live events being planned around Aotearoa this year, as well as significant New Zealand representation over the Tasman, all of which will connect more people with more New Zealand books and authors. Our need for books has never been more evident than during the pandemic, with the escapism, solace, companionship and engagement that only the right words can provide. I am delighted that tonight the Ockham Book Awards brings 16 wonderful writers out of the studio and into the limelight. I thoroughly look forward to celebrating our finalists and winners and the prestigious gift of literature with you all this evening. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Whaketai tele lava, Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to seeing you in the foyer after the awards event for drinks and refreshments. We're not going to be having speeches out there, so we hope that you'll relax and just relax and celebrate together. I now leave you in the capable hands of our fabulous MC for the evening, Jack Tame. Thank you so much.
E mihi ana ki te rangi, e mihi ana ki te whenua, e mihi ana ki ngā tūpuna i te pō. E mihi ana ki ngā uri i te āwātea, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ore te iwi kua haere mai nei ki te whakanui i ngā kōrero o Aotearoa mō te tau 2022. Ki ngā mana whenua o tēnei wahi, me i tō koutou tūpuna, te rangatira, Papa Bob, tēnā koutou. Ki ngā kaiwhakarite o tēnei hui, e mihi nui ana ki a koutou, mā ki ngā kai whakatuhi kua tai mai. Wai maari e, haere, haere, haere. Kia tātou, kia pai te whakanui nei, nā reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Tēnā tātou katoa. if ever there were a time for a little escapism, if ever there were a time to slip away, if ever there were a time for a dose of reality, if ever there were a time to seek meaning and purpose and order amidst the chaos, now's good. What a pleasure, what a privilege it is to be with you this year as we celebrate the writers and the work that has lifted us, that has delighted us, that has enriched us. I am Jack Tame, and it really is my joy to be with you here this evening as we celebrate the 54th year of the New Zealand National Book Awards, the Ockhams. I know there are many of you who can't be here in person tonight, who are watching via the live stream this evening. We feel your presence. It's great to have you here. Just a little heads up. If there are any dodgy looking links that come up in the live stream, please do not click on them. The only reason your bank balance should be changing this evening is if you choose to support, nay, invest in the work of one of our finalists. For those of you who are here in person, please, whakaweto I o koutou wire, turn off your phone, at least chuck it on Do Not Disturb, and we will rip into things. Our first awards of the evening are the Crystal Arts Trust Best First Book Awards, which recognise a work of quality from an author for whom the entry is their first published book. And we are delighted to welcome cultural philanthropists, the Crystal Arts Trust, as sponsors of the awards this year, and invite trustee Rosetta Allen to the stage to help us present them. Now, these awards are not only a significant career milestone for winning writers, they also have a long and storied history in New Zealand's cultural landscape, with the oldest prize dating back to 1940. Each is named for an eminent historian, poet, or novelist. And once again this year, it was an impressive year for first books at the Ockham New Zealand Book Awards. Debut writers featured in every one of the 4 long lists for tonight's main categories and in all but one of the shortlists. Each best first book winner tonight will receive a prize of $2,500 and a 12-month membership of the New Zealand Society of Authors. Writers, when we announce your name, please come up to the stage with your publisher to receive your award and make a short speech. And ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in congratulating the 2022 winner of the E.H. McCormick Prize for a Best First Book of General Nonfiction is Dave Lowe for The Alarmist. The Alarmist 50 Years Measuring Climate Change is published by Te Herenga Waka University Press. The judges described this as accessible, thought-provoking and courageous, and an important contribution to New Zealand's literary canon. I was speaking to Dave before the awards this evening. He said, "I can't even believe I'm here. I'm not an author." Well, the judges disagreed. Congratulations.
I haven't actually prepared anything to say, but I know everyone here has been in the New Zealand bush, on a beach, and you feel that you're part of something. And we are. We're all part of the Earth system. Let's not stuff it up, please.
Congratulations, Dave. Next, we will announce the 2022 Jessie Mackay Prize for a Best First Book of Poetry. And the winner is Nicole Titihuia Hawkins for Phi, published by We Are Babies Press. Now, Nicole is unable to attend this evening, but the award is being received by Stacey Teague and Ash David Jane of We Are Babies Press. And the judges said, with gentle, compelling confidence, Hawkins explores themes of colonisation, ancestry and education without losing her sense of beauty and humour.
Tēnā koutou. Stacey and I are here tonight as part of We Are Babies Press. It's a huge honour to accept this award on behalf of Nicole, who we really wish could be here tonight, but her baba and her whānau have come first, of course. Nicole has asked us to share some words on her behalf, so Stacey's going to read that.
Tēnā tātou katoa. I'd like to thank the Kai Whakawā for this award. I'd like to acknowledge all of the other nominated writers. It is very humbling to sit amongst this community full of icons, legends, peers and role models. A huge thank you to the We Are Babies publishing team for their hard work, support and collaboration. To all the aunties, the unofficial editors and first readers of I, thank you for your guidance. Thank you to my friends, whānau, students and my beloved for their ongoing love and support and for encouraging me to write our stories. I dedicate this award to my 8-week-old daughter, Mihirangi Titihuia, and Indigenous bubbas everywhere. I wish that you grow up always knowing the value in our stories, and may you always have the courage and the confidence to tell them. Thank you. Tihei Mauri ora.
Kia ora kōrua. We hope that Nicole is able to watch from home with Mihirangi maybe. The 2022 winner of the Judith Binney Prize for a Best First Book of Illustrated Nonfiction is Bridget Hackshaw for The Architect and the Artist. The Architect and the Artist's Sean McCann Divil is published by Massey University Press. And the judges praised the powerfully evocative photographs and formative range of essays that make up this intimate tribute.
Well, I agreed at the last minute to make some notes. I didn't think I'd be using them. Tēnā koutou katoa. This book was an absolute joy to make, and needless to say, I didn't expect to be standing up here. I'd like to accept this on behalf of my co-authors, Peter Simpson, who's here tonight, and Christopher Dudman, Peter Shaw, Julie Atley, Alexa Johnston, and Sister Maria Park. I'm incredibly grateful for your support and sharing your expertise, especially with a debut author and photographer, and with some of your enormous reputations. That was some risk. As Dad said to me about the Upland Road Convent, it would be nothing without the McCann windows, and this would be far less without your contributions. I'd like to thank the New Zealand Book Awards Trust, Ockham Residential, as Nicholas said, the heroic judges, booksellers Aotearoa New Zealand, and the Crystal Arts Trust particularly. I'd really like to thank Nicola Leggett and her incredible team at Massey University Press, an absolute delight to work with. Anna Balbies and Anna Jackson-Scott. What an awesome team. Arch McDonnell, Alexandra Turner at in-house design for the design work. Susie Bailey, proofreader, publicist. Diana Bagnall and other friends for contributions. Thank you. This book is about a collaboration, and it was made in a very collaborative way with lots and lots of people enabling it to happen. Numerous people in the schools, private houses, libraries, archives, galleries, churches and offices who so generously afforded me very easy access to research and photograph. It was an incredibly fun process. Thank you to everybody. We started this process. The book has come out of a film. Thank you to everyone who we filmed on the subject, including Paul Dibble, who shared their recollections with us. Also, people who funded our film to post-production stage, in particular the late Adrian Burr, who enabled us to film enough for him to decide that this book needed to be made. Thank you to all my friends and family who encouraged and supported me all the way, in particular Mike, Francis and Tom, who are here tonight, or Francis isn't, Mark and Carissa, my brother and sister-in-law, and for my mother. Ngā mihi nui, mai oho.
Kia ora, Bridget. Congratulations. It's now time for our final winner of the Crystal Arts Trust Best First Book Awards for 2022. And this is the 2022 Hubert Church Prize for a Best First Book of Fiction. And the winner is Rebecca K. Riley for Greta and Valdine. Greta and Valdine is published by Te Herenga Waka University Press, and the judges described this as an Auckland book, a queer book, and a Māori book that has equal parts wit and heart.
I'm tall. I didn't prepare anything either, even though I was the only debut writer in my category. But I brought a blank piece of paper and a pen in my bag. I just want to thank everyone at Te Herenga Waka Press, Fergus, Ashley, Craig, and Tay, and formerly Kirsten as well. And to all my friends, my mum, all the guys at Bright, Marcel, Mitch, Fitzgerald, Clive. Thank you, and thank you all the readers and all the bookstagrammers who try and tag me and stuff, and I turned it off so that no one can because it was just so stressful. Thank you.
Congratulations, Rebecca. Congratulations to all the winners of the Crystal Arts Trust Best First Book Awards, and, of course, to the Crystal Arts Trust. I know you're all anxious to hear from the writers who are represented here this evening. And so we will move on to the first of our other category awards. The way this is going to work is that we will welcome our finalists up on stage. I'll introduce them. You can welcome them up. They'll come up and present from their shortlisted books. Following that, the convener or representative judge for each category will announce the winners, and I'll read the citations. So, writers, I know I practiced this beforehand. You come up, you take your seat, you do the reading, we all sit down again, and then we announce the winner. They're writers, they're not listeners, you know, this is the... The General Nonfiction Award is given every year to a book that offers rich, considered, and groundbreaking insights into the history, lives, culture, and society of Aotearoa. This year's winner will receive a prize of $10,000. So please welcome the 2022 finalists to the stage. Representing Patricia Grace, Whiti Hereaka. Dave Lowe for the Charlotte Grimshaw for The Mirror Book, published by Penguin Random House. And Vincent O'Malley for Voices from the New Zealand Wars, Te Reo no Ngā Pakanga o Aotearoa, published by Bridget Williams Books. Kia ora koutou. Congratulations. Whiti, over to you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Kia koutou ngā mana whenua. Blackie rawa ko tui, tēnā koe, tēnā korua mō kororo mahana ki a mātou. Kia ora everyone. Daila Porphyry, my name is Porphyry. Daila Waiata, Blackie got me up. Daila Reader, Pat asked me if I would do the reading for her. So kia ora. I'm a school teacher. I don't write, I don't really sing. There's a lot of things I don't do. So, but I'm very honoured to read Pat's book, From the Centre, A Writer's Life. You're not going to ding a bell if I go over the 2 minutes?
It's not the Oscars. You're
Thank
right.
you.
You're good. Yeah.
St Anne's Parish School was a 2 or 3 section bus ride from where we lived. My mother took me to school on that first day. We stood outside the classroom while she spoke to a little old nun with a hairy chin. Inside my school bag were my lunch in a paper bag, a pair of brown slippers, and an apron which was called a pinny. I was taken to be with the children at a long table where we stood behind our chairs to say our morning prayers. There was a lot of reciting of prayers 3 times a day, catechism, nursery rhymes, jingles and speech exercises, the alphabet and what sounds the letters stood for: A for apple, B for bed, K for cat. We were instructed on how to sit when writing or drawing: feet together, back straight, forearms on the deck. Though I understood what I was to do, how I was to sit, I was always puzzled by the forearms. I don't know when the little old nun found out that I could read quite well, but I was to learn that this did not please her. I was called up to Sister's desk, which was something which happened to naughty children who needed telling off or even a smack. At home, I was probably quite talkative. At school, I was shy and silent and always tried hard to be good. Now I found I was in trouble for being able to read. I was tall for my age, and Sister was drilling me about how old I was. This person of authority with a cane sitting across her desk was telling me I wasn't 5. I was 6, perhaps 7, and had been to school before. I didn't know what it was all about. Questioning went on for some time, but I was too afraid to answer, and I didn't know what to say. Then, where did you learn to read? I didn't know the answer to that either. What I realised that I was at fault for being able to read, and remember thinking that I should stop being able to do so. My mother was sent for. Maybe I was given a note to take home. I don't know what conversation went on between my mother and Sister Basil, but all was well after that. Though what I have been saying at my Catholic primary school may have been disparaging, and though as a young child I couldn't bear the humiliation some children suffered at the hands of 1 or 2 of the sisters because they had unpressed uniforms, holes in their socks, dog-eared exercise books, no pencils and rubbers, unlearned tables or spelling. On the whole, I loved school and learning. It was where I wanted to be.
Dave.
I forgot to say, Fergus, thanks for taking a punt on a climate scientist. And as Jack said, I have no idea what I'm doing here. This is amazing. Among all the literary great ones here, it's a privilege and a pleasure. So this is a short excerpt, far less than 2 minutes. And it's my feeling as a teenager for the atmosphere. As a young surfer, and ever since, I've tuned into the atmosphere, watching its changing moods, is a rewarding and spiritual experience. Every day it puts on a different show. High wispy cirrus clouds of ice crystals change into dense iron grey storm clouds with wind and rain. Then after the rain has passed, rhythms of dancing light and an intoxicating smell hang in the air. Bright sunshine bakes vapours from the earth into the atmosphere. In the surf zone, light blends with waves and the smell of seaweed. All your senses work together as your mind and your being harmonise with the atmosphere. I grew up in rural Taranaki. Like many young people raised in the countryside, I developed an early connection with the ocean, rivers and land. It was intuitive because we were outside most of the time in the sun and the rain, swimming and playing and watching changes in the atmosphere above. I didn't know it then, but the same feelings are universal. Indigenous peoples all over the planet relate to what might be called an Earth Mother. The Maori Earth Mother is Papa Tuanuku, gives birth to all things, including people. We share an innate sense that the oceans, air, land and all living things are somehow joined in a web of life. Thank you.
I've just had the pleasure of getting to know Dave for the first time, and I learned that he too blew up a phone booth when he was young. This is a very short extract from the Mirror. Every day I worked on Mazarine, and every fortnight I put aside the fiction, opened the Mirror book and told the story that was true. The true story had to be good, meaning well told. Scheherazade was still afraid of termination of the axe. Now the routine was set. I would walk through the city while running through the story, shaping it, reminding myself of details. The easier it was to talk, the further I got from Tauhanga Crescent, and the closer I came to it too. One day walking home, I took a detour through the marina, walking alongside the yachts with their masts clinking and jinking in the wind, the rain falling on the water. I remembered the trip out to Kowau Island, the way the horizon pulsed with black cloud, the flashes of sheet lightning, the plunge and heave of the green waves. I remember thinking I was going to drown. I felt myself sinking under the boiling waves, pulled by currents down into the calm deeps, the underwater silence. There was the sentence that had caused so much trouble: telling your story is existentially important. I saw now why it was existentially important. My reading about psychological syndromes and disorders, all the studies and articles and textbooks had led me on a path from the Trumps to Knausgaard to Janet Malcolm to Sylvia Plath, but none of that reading had achieved as much as relating the true story to another person had done. Telling the true story had changed my brain. This is what is existentially important: to be heard and understood, to have a listener affirm it, to know the mind is not alone. You are not an idealized character in someone's fiction. You are real. Your literary family is not a work of fiction. They are real. What you have seen and heard and experienced is real. Your protests are valid. In every story about a dog, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. The chant is a chant, not a beautiful song. The thread that will lead you out of the maze is the thread of narrative. But I can't talk to you, I'd said. Exactly. You had to learn it was possible in real time.
The New Zealand Wars were a prolonged and complex series of conflicts that changed forever the course of New Zealand history. They were transformative events in our national story, in many ways far more so than the two world wars that generations of school children learned about instead. Fought between the Crown and different groups of Māori, the wars are usually said to have begun at the Bay of Islands in March 1845, though a case is sometimes made for an earlier start at Waido in the northern South Island in June 1843. By the time they came to an end in 1872, around 6,000 people had been killed or wounded, 2/3 of them Māori. The country had changed immensely as a result of these conflicts. So what were they and what were they about? Well, that's been debated and discussed by historians for years. It's important to remember that these were quite discrete episodes spanning many years and often driven by local factors. But New Zealand Company land dealings were behind the Wellington conflicts of 1846, for example, but irrelevant to the Northern War that ended that same year. Yet for all the regional nuances and variations, certain recurring motifs can be identified. Land sovereignty and land Victorian assumptions of racial dominance were all issues in these conflicts. An overarching theme was the tension between increasing Crown assertions of absolute sovereignty and Māori expectations of continuing chiefly authority. At their core, many of the conflicts raised the same question: whose will was going to prevail? This was more than just a question of land ownership. It went to the heart of how Māori and Pākehā would live together in this country. Would Māori share the fate of many other Indigenous peoples around the globe, being reduced to a state of subservience and perhaps even facing the prospect of total extinction? Or was New Zealand somehow different? Would the promises held out in the Treaty of Waitangi be upheld by the Crown? We not only know the answer to that question, we live with consequences today. For the later history of New Zealand was profoundly shaped by these conflicts. The Native Land Court would not have been possible without the New Zealand Wars, neither would the native school system. One stripped Māori of their lands, the other of their language. This history is not over done with. It's a story of how we got to where we are today.
Thank you very much and congratulations, Vincent O'Malley, Charlotte Grimshaw, Dave Lowe, Patricia Grace and Whiti Hereaka. To announce the winner, please welcome convener Nicholas Reid, and to present the award, Stephen Wainwright, the Chief Executive of Creative New Zealand.
General non-fiction means many genres corralled together under one heading. Memoirs, biographies, autobiographies, essays, polemics, reportage, history books, treatises on economics, examinations of art and other subgenres. How do we compare one genre with another? It's a daunting task. This year we read and assessed 56 non-fiction books. Of these, we judged very many to be good and readable books, worthy of competition, but in some cases aimed at a very specialised audience. All the time, we were looking for books of real literary merit that were accessible to a wide readership, that were well presented by their publishers, and that were of lasting value, not ephemeral and not merely topical. By these criteria, the 10 books on the long list were excellent, and the 4 books in the short list are outstanding. All 56 authors are to be thanked for submitting their work, as are the publishers, editors and designers of their work. As convener of the Non-Fiction Awards, I personally thank my 2 fellow judges. Leilani Tamu was very astute in pointing out what did and did not ring true in any book we judged, and Aaron Smale provided much expertise on Māori matters, as well as writing detailed critiques of books on Māori themes. Our discussions of books were intense and detailed, but harmonious, and all our decisions were unanimous. I'm very happy to announce that the winner of the Ockham Book Award for General Non-Fiction is Vincent O'Malley for Voices from the New Zealand Wars.
As Vincent receives his award, I will read to you the judge's citation. Vincent O'Malley's book meets all the criteria for a great work of non-fiction. It is the fruit of close historical research and accessible to a wide readership. It tells us of the past, but is relevant to the present, when public debate feeds New Zealanders' hunger to know how our country was formed. It's nuanced in its balance of both Māori and Pākehā voices, and it respects the attitudes and assumptions of people who lived in an era different from our own. In bringing together these voices, O'Malley creates a coherent history of the New Zealand Wars, gives greater attention to wahine than earlier historians, and deals carefully with contested events. The excellent book production is a credit to the publishers. Congratulations.
Tēnā koutou katoa, tuatahi mihi nui ki te marawhenua o Tamaki Makaurau, I hui mai nei tēnā koutou katoa. Another one who turned up without an acceptance speech, so I'll have to wing it. First of all, I'd like to thank all of those who helped to fund this project, because sometimes writing in New Zealand is a matter of scraping and begging for funding, and I received funding for the work from various sources, Friends of the Turnbull Library, the New Zealand History Teachers Association, New Zealand, and the Ministry of Culture and Heritage Awards and History Trust. So I was immensely grateful for that support. I couldn't have done this without the one team at Bridget Williams Books, Clean Tom Rennie, Bridget Williams, Katrina Duncan, Nancy Swarbrick, and many others there, along with the wonderful designer Neil Partington. And also to my wife Joanna Kidman, who's helped in so many ways with this work and with our journey through New Zealand history. I couldn't have done this without you, so thank you. This book is part of a trilogy about the New Zealand Wars, which I've argued and I said in my reading tonight, were defining conflicts in New Zealand history, and it's so wonderful from next year all school children in Aotearoa are going to learn this history. This will be transformative if it's done well. So I'm really grateful for that and really excited about the way that we begin to own our history, warts and all, as a nation, and thank you for this.
Congratulations, Vincent, and thank you to Nicholas Reid and Stephen Wainwright. We now come to the celebration of our poets. The Poetry Award has honoured many of New Zealand's finest writers over the last half-century, and the shortlist this year is no different, demonstrating once again the quality and the range of our poets. This year's winner will receive a prize of $10,000. So please welcome to the stage the finalists for the 2022 Mary and Peter Biggs Award for Poetry. They are Tei Tibble for Rangikura, published by Te Herenga Waka University Press. Seri Barford for Sleeping with Stones, published by Anahera Press. Anne Kennedy for The Sea Walks into a Wall, published by Auckland University Press. And Joanna Preston for Tumble, published by Otago University Press. Tei, if you'd like to begin.
Kia ora e homa. I'm just going to read a very small poem. And it's a love poem for my mum and dad if history had been different and if our inheritance had been different. And it's called My Mother Meets My Father in an Alternate Koru. I said, fuck, I feel Māori when I'm swimming in a river. And you looked at me with the sun escaping your grip. In the river, we look for pounamu or gold or heart-shaped stones. I am hopeful. And I tell you what I live for. That's hot looks and hot summers. And you teaching me how to cook an egg on a rock. Pick a big flat stone. Carry the river in your hands
and watch if the water dances off. I don't like eggs, but I like you, I say, come on. I'm trying to get a good look at your face. Laugh for me, babe, stick up the sun again. Because when I look at you waiting, the twist in your waist is surprisingly delicate, and I can see the inheritance in you. The ropes, your grandmother's jawbones, your hair so identical to your mother's, she must have wrapped you in it. Then I think it would be good for my children to have a father like you, cooking an egg on the rocks, watching the salt rise and reverse back up to heaven. Look, you say, there are good things everywhere. You only have to train your eyes to look up.
Kia ora tātou, talofa lava. I'm going to read two short poems. The first one is called Piula Blue. Piula is a freshwater pool in Samoa, just out of Apia. There's one word in here, siva, which means to dance, and lomi lomi is like romi romi. It's a kind of massage. Piula Blue. I want to return to Piula, swim through the lava tunnel where we first met, make garlands from laughter, siva with the sun. I want to intercept history, paint "Do not disturb" across your forehead, banish spiteful ghosts inciting you over the edge, relocate your final standing place, undo your death wish. Come, my love, follow me down the mountain, through the desert, across the ocean to Piula. Fish will lomi our tears into crystalline water. I will kiss you better. And the second one is called The Dark Side of the Moon. Masina is the Samoan word for moon, and filemu is for peace. And after Alan jumped over the waterfall, this white pigeon, a lupe, used to come and visit me. And so this poem is about that. Grief is a fist of whirling mussel shells, slicing, scraping, shredding what remains. A white pigeon heard you'd flown the coop, took me gently under his wing. Filemu, 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 I crooned, offered water, seeds, leftovers. He ate everything except cooked carrots, was a peaceful presence in my dismantled world. One morning, Filemu was gone. Waning Masina rested instead on the guano splattered roof. I ached to patch her incomplete beauty. I am fully present, Masina chided. Heal yourself instead of tinkering with my perfection. I saw the dark side of the moon, white feathers falling like rain. Apitai teli lava.
Greetings to the Minister of the Arts. Thank you, Ockham's judges, Auckland Writers' Festival, AUP, fellow poets, and thank you everybody. It's great to be out. An hour. The person of the hour remembers a model of an atom. The person of the hour learned Japanese at school. The person of the hour used to grow peppers. The person of the hour sees that it is 8 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour notices leaves turning at odd angles. The person of the hour's hands are vein carbon. The person of the hour read an article about bees. The person of the hour sees that it is 9 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour thinks about herd immunity. The person of the hour knows hospital corners. The person of the hour has a yellow jacket. The person of the hour sees it is 10 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour likes wool and weaving. The person of the hour cleans the staff bathrooms. The person of the hour has a mother who doesn't remember them. The person of the hour sees it is 11 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour bear hugs their son at bedtime. The person of the hour's iron sheets is a blank page. The person of the hour has blistered heels. The person of the hour sees it is noon. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour thinks the new motorway is a disaster. The person of the hour plays cat and mouse with the sun. The person of the hour makes dresses at Christmas. The person of the hour sees it is 1 o'clock. The person of the hour has just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour is entirely happy with the local school. The person of the hour has a few last plastic bags. The person of the hour put the back out, falling. The person of the hour sees it is 2 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour diagnoses smells on the bus. The person of the hour makes 100 sandwiches. The person of the hour is a third of the way through their degree. The person of the hour sees it is 3 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour loves the smell of a child's head. The person of the hour puts the alarm clock on the other side of the room. The person of the hour mops up other people's vomit. The person of the hour sees it is 4 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour reads novels about love and no love. The person of the hour likes the feel of the road while driving. The person of the hour is acquainted with the bleats of a child's asthma. The person of the hour sees it is 5 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour likes the comedy festival. The person of the hour worked New Year's Day. The person of the hour voted for a ticket in the council elections. The person of the hour sees it is 6 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour likes baking bread. The person of the hour feels nervous in the building after dark. The person of the hour is worried about kids' uniforms. The person of the hour sees it is 7 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour stargazes while emptying the bins. The person of the hour is going to a wedding in March. The person of the hour is being evicted from their house. The person of the hour sees it is 8 o'clock. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. The person of the hour hopes their kid is in bed. The person of the hour remembers a hit song from 2006. The person of the hour drives to their other job. The person of the hour unlocks for the night shift. The person of the hour just earned minimum wage, less tax. Thank you.
Kia ora. I'm going to read you 3 parts from a longer poem. Lucifer in Las Vegas. 1. The Fall. As I fell, I burned through shame and grief and disbelief and love. Words that trail like broken wings. Only rage was left, its silken tongue, its crystal shell. I fell through night and time into the morn of this world and kept on falling. Once I lived by passion's flame, but I learned cold blood is better. 2. Shell. It's been 6,000 years, give or take. This shape's as good as any other. I'm fortress, island, and rock, A treasure chest with a living lock no thief can pick. I walk in armour, plastron thicker than a tank. The only mark of then is a reflex twitch, a flinch, a body thing I still can't shake beneath the fear of wings. When I heard what happened to Aeschylus, I laughed so hard I nearly split my shell. Well, I see, he hasn't lost his sense of humour. 3. Sand. Once, all this was sand. Sand and cactus, sand and yuccas, sand and blackbrush, Gila monsters, sand and sand. Hell of a place to land in. A dried-up basin in the mountains, not a blade of grass to graze on, not a flower without thorns. I listened to the blood song of the desert and dug down.
Congratulations and thank you, Kay, Siri, Anne and Joanna. The convener of judges for poetry, Sarada Koirala, is in Australia and unable to join us this evening. So please welcome to the stage another on the judging panel, Aparana Taylor, to announce the award. And he's accompanied by sponsors Mary and Peter Biggs, who will present the award.
Tēnā tātou katoa, rauranga tira mā, nau mai haere mai ki te whakanui ngā mahi o wenei kai tuhi tuhinga. And still the wheels and cogs turn in the machine to pump the springs of poetry, so the fountain of many voices bursts forth from the heart, mind and wairua of our poets in such turbulent times. Like the sea in all its moods, depths, shallows and delightful rock pools. Like the tides that come and go, poets have landed 33 waka poetry books on our shores while sailing us across many oceans. Māori and Pacific Island poets wear well the korowai of poetry with mana, as do all these fine poets who call and weave a cloak of many worlds. To all who entered, there was merit in every waka. Congratulations to those long-listed and short-listed. Your work demanded robust, intricate and lengthy discussion from myself, Sarada Koirala, and Jane Arthur. As judges, in our discussions, we listened to and learned from each other. On this basis, we made our decision. The winner of the Mary and Peter Biggs Award for Poetry is Joanna Preston for Tumble.
As Joanna receives the award, I will read to you the judge's citation. The judges wrote, "Tumble is a celebration of poetry and the long tradition that has led to this moment. Through her layering of art, reimagining of historic moments, and firm nods to poets past, Joanna Preston reminds us of Louise Gluck with her precise, evocative narratives, chiselled out of stone to reveal what was always there. Preston writes with pristine imagery and adept command of the vocabulary, while crafting her poetry to deeply satisfying musicality, rhythm, and cadence. Simply written, yet dramatic and powerfully eloquent, each poem in this book is a banger. Tumble is an exhilarating read that hurls us across time and space, giving us the sense that all of it, from Lucifer's fall to Christchurch's earthquake, is part of the same powerful play. Congratulations.
I did not expect this. Thank you so much. Thank you to the judges. Thank you to the organisers. Huge thanks to all my people back in Christchurch and Lincoln who are watching on the live stream, and Otago. There are a whole lot of people, and Mum and Dad, if you actually managed to work out how to get it to work in Australia, that would be good. Hi, Mum. And thank you to Sue Wooten and all of the incredible team at Otago Uni Press. They only said yes to the book in April last year, and somehow we managed to get it all together and out by November, and that is the work of so many people. If it takes a village to raise a child, it took an entire island to get this book. I'm going to sit down now because I don't know if I can stand much longer. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Joanna, and thank you, Aparana, Mary, and Peter. Otago Uni Press said yes to the book. Don't forget, you can say yes to the books as well. If you hear some work this evening that you haven't yet engaged with, don't forget we will have a store outside so you can support all of the finalists here this evening. Some of our nation's most beautiful and diverse books have been represented in our Booksellers Aotearoa New Zealand Award for illustrated non-fiction, where impressive writing and research appeared with excellent photography, illustrations, and other visual contributions. This year's winner will receive a prize of $10,000. So please welcome the 2022 finalists to the stage. Claire Renyo for Dressed, Fashionable Dress in Aotearoa, New Zealand, 1840 to 1910, published by Te Papapa Press. Kiani Matatasipu for Nu, Stories of 100 Indigenous Women, published by Kiani & Co. Lucy McIntosh for Shifting Grounds, Deep Histories of Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland, published by Bridget Wiz Books. And Bridget Hackshaw for The Architect and the Artists, Hackshaw, McCann and Dibble, published by Massey University Press. Claire, if you would like to share your work.
Kia ora. This is a little snippet from a chapter called Bulls, Plain and Fancy, and centres on one of the favourite people, Irene Edwin, that I met in the archives. Irene Edwin was a regular guest at the capital's premier at homes, parties and balls with her parents, Amelia and Captain Robert Edwin. As the director of the Meteorological Office, Captain Edwin was renowned throughout the country for his weather reports. Socially disposed, he was considered one of the most genial and companionable of men in Wellington. Although none of Irene's ball dresses survive in our museum collections, she saved many of her invitations. On their reverse, she joyfully recorded what she wore: her coming out dress, a yellow crepon, her pink silk with new long pink sleeves, along with descriptions of the decorations, the evening's dance program, and the supper menu. She also recorded humorous anecdotes, from having to chase ice cream around on a hot plate to the doctor who hid behind a palm all night to avoid dancing. For the 1895 Queen's birthday ball, Irene chose her white and silver. Much to the 20-year-old's annoyance, she discovered that her choice of gown caused people to think she was coming out, for which she was solemnly congratulated by two gentlemen, one of whom was convinced she was only 17. The birthday ball was an enormous affair, and the crush of people presented a number of dangers. Irene wrote on the back of one of her invites, "Lord Glasgow shook hands with me and said, as usual, he was very pleased to meet me, and trod on my dress the moment after. Danced troubadour waltz with Mr. Coates, nice big partner, enjoyed very much. Collided a couple. The man turned round to Mr. Coates, remarked, 'Brute!' Saw Mr. Coates' size and hurriedly disappeared. Another couple bumped into us, didn't move Mr. Coates, but knocked me right off my feet. Mr. Coates held me off the ground till there was a vacant space, when he put me down without stopping and went on waltzing."
Just before I start, you'll see that it says published by Keane & Co. This book is self-published, so please go and buy a copy before you leave today. Kia ora. I've got two extracts I'm going to read to you, and the first one is a karakia. And it's a karakia about the sacred breath of wahine, and where wahine were birthed here in the world. So, tēnei te hā ka ahu mai I kura waka, te hā ka mai I te ira wahine, te hā ka karanga I ngā uri whakaheke, te hā e ora tonei au ka ora, koia ko te hā, koia ko te hau whakahau manu, ko te hau whakaora, ko te hau tāmata, ko te hau e tonu nei au ka ora. Ka tā manawa I tēnei hautapu, koia ko te hā o hene ahuone e puha mai nei. Ue hā, tau mai te mauri, haumie, hui e, tai ki. Indigenous wahine dream to see our future generations thrive, to be confident in their reo, to be equipped with their mātauranga, to be proud of their identities, to be healthy, happy and well. For this to happen, we need a thriving ecosystem supported by Indigenous values and practices. The key to our ambition is connection, being connected to our whānau, our history, to our knowledge systems, to our taiao, to one another. This will see us prosper. Nuku is proudly about who we are and not who we've been told to be. Mahine, mohine, yahine. I want to read you the final extract from Nuku 100, the final wahine in the puka puka, Karen Matata, who also happens to be my mum. Growing up, it wasn't good to be Māori. Society told us it was the worst thing that you could be. The racism, the things people said, it was horrible. But we just saw ourselves as whānau, as kids from our marae. Coming out of school, you had career choices as a woman: nurse, secretary, or teacher. I hated the sight of blood, and I couldn't type. We came from a whānau of educators, and so I became a kindergarten teacher. Our marae is central to who I am. My dad and uncles would be at marae hui the first Sunday of every month. I would go and listen and learn. Our kaumātua and kuia would stay in their executive roles until they couldn't read or see anymore, and then someone else would have to take over. So at some stage, I became the marae secretary. The role changed over time as society changed. I started to take mahi representing our hapu with council, sat on tangata tiriti rōpū, roles my parents would never have been given the option to hold in their time. I think about how times have changed. I am now learning from my daughter things like decolonisation, indigeneity and white privilege. We never had words for those growing up. I want wahine take to know how strong and resilient they are. that being old doesn't earn you respect. You have to treat people well and do the work to deserve it. I want our women to follow their gut instincts and to stay connected to their tupuna. The generation coming up after us is strategic. They're politically aware. They're strong in their identity, and I sure hope they know that they are enough. Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou katoa. If you decide to visit the obelisk at Maunga Karakia, rather than viewing it from a distance, you must first climb the mountain. The road to the summit circles around the maunga, weaving slowly to the top. On foot, the mountain engages all the senses. The demanding contours quicken the breath and heat the body. The steep sides loom overhead, dwarfing the obelisk on its summit, and often obscuring it from view altogether. Instead, you're surrounded by steppe terraces and deep craters covered with pasture and volcanic rock, which shift and disorientate as they wind around the mountain. People, sheep, rabbits, and other animals move across the landscape, carving their own pathways across, up, down the slopes. Their movements expose other histories in the eroded land, revealing rock, middens, and taonga. People like to arrange those volcanic cones in the craters, creating messages and signs on the landscape for loved ones. A pine tree, presumably self-seeded, stands on an outcrop halfway up the road, an echo of the controversial pine that once stood on the summit. As you reach the top of the road, the landscape becomes more controlled, with retaining walls supporting the platform of the summit complex. The obelisk stands stolid and alone, propped up against the relentless forces of erosion, weather, people, animals, and time that constantly pull against it. Around it, the daily life of the wider landscape continues, full of the ever-shifting sounds, smells, and sights of human and natural histories. Deep within the recesses of the mountain, beneath the veneer of pasture and roadways, lie burial chambers, alternative spaces of commemoration. The chambers were shaped by the mountain itself, with steam from the eruption forming and molten rock hardening as it cooled to make the caves. Their contents, rich with human experience, have become part of the land. They're not a preconceived idea imposed upon a material substance, but a slow, evolving permeation of rock, soil, air, and human histories. These threads of individual stories and remnants of earlier lives cannot be told in the grand narrative of a polished obelisk. Kia ora.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. 8 of the 12 buildings that Dad, McCann and Dibble worked on were churches, so I'm going to read a short extract which includes the work of the 3 guys. The church has a long tradition of patronising artists, but it seems that the collaboration between my father, McCann and Dibble resulted in a fresh understanding and urgency in what work was relevant to local communities for their spiritual spaces. Most artwork in New Zealand churches in the 1960s and 1970s was imported from Italy or Australia. The collaboration of these three men marked a break from this approach. Church art had typically reflected a European aesthetic. Painted plaster statues of Jesus, Mary, Joseph and the saints were often realist, sentimental and colourful renditions. Windows narrated biblical stories and honoured sacred figures, and Stations of the Cross graphically illustrated explicit moments on Christ's journey to Calvary. In contrast, the materials and landscapes of this trio's works are ours. The window McCann designed in 1969 for St Patrick's Church in Te Puke, for example, has the shape of a hill signifying Calvary carved out of wooden glass. But Puke means hill, and so for McCann it was very much a local hill. My father used to point out what he called McCann hills when we were driving, and often stopped to photograph them. Dibble commented on McCann's extraordinary ability to take the local and make it international, and my father admired the way McCann could express the local environment, universal ideas universal ideas relevant to local communities. Dibble's Tabernacle at St Francis de Sales Church on Auckland's North Shore has a relief image of Rangitoto Island on its side, and its earthy bronze metal is more analogous to our landscape than the gold and silver more typically used in church altar objects. The Way of the Cross, painted by Malcaron for the Upland Road Convent, reflects the topography of Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, and uses symbols rather than human figures to tell the story of the road to the crucifixion. The furniture my father designed was fashioned from rich native kauri and heart rimu timbers and was built by Averill Construction in Auckland. The local wood, simple design and robust construction all express the origin of its manufacture here in New Zealand. The materials, colours and iconography used by my father Malcaron and Dibble can be said to deify our own heritage and landscape. Malcaron's response to the landscape was deeply spiritual. In 1966, the poet Charles Brash wrote to the writer and art curator Hamish Keith saying, "I suppose one could say that landscape is the chief language of Malcaron's paintings, and of course he is saying something about it that doesn't come only from the landscape itself. What he says about it is at the same time an interpretation of the state of man, the nature of our life on earth." Malcaron wrote something similar himself to the Wellington art dealer Peter McLeavy a few years later. "I paint to tell people of the beauty of the land I love and of their relation to it and the God they all ask of for help."
Congratulations and thank you, Claire Renyo, Kiani Matatasipu, Lucy McIntosh, and Bridget Hackshaw. Please welcome now the convener of judges, Chanel Clark, to the stage to announce the winner. And she's joined by Jenna Todd, who is the chair of Booksellers Aotearoa New Zealand, to present the award.
Kia ora tātou. The numerous lockdowns and shipping delays that characterised another extraordinary year meant that as judges we were reading the 33 books submitted to the illustrated non-fiction category right up to the 11th hour. But what a treat they were, as the days dragged into weeks and the weeks into months. The titles traversed a diverse range of subjects, from the peaks of Mount Everest to the tussock-covered hills of New Zealand's high country. They showcased the breadth and depth of our artistic talent and revealed some not so well-known histories. They also included an array of cooking and gardening titles that allowed us to find comfort in these simple pleasures in such unsettling times. Our shortlist is remarkable this year in that 3 out of the 4 titles are first books. I want to thank my fellow judges, Jane Connor and Patrick Reynolds, for the vigorous debate we shared and their careful diligence in coming to our final decisions. Together we applaud the efforts of all the authors and the publishing teams behind them. However, there can only be one winner, so we are delighted to announce that the Booksellers Aotearoa New Zealand Award for Illustrated Non-Fiction 2021 goes to Claire Renyo for Dressed.
As Claire comes up and receives her award, I'll read the judge's citation. Even those who believe themselves to be without interest in either clothing or history will be seduced by Dressed. Readers will find themselves transported to other worlds, populated by people, Indigenous and immigrant, both heart-achingly familiar and surprisingly exotic. Beautifully illustrated and deeply researched, it's the complete package. Dressed is a valuable addition to our nation's story and a great example of the possibilities of historical inquiry and non-fiction publishing. Congratulations.
This is wonderful and embarrassing. Thank you. Thank you to the Ockhams and to Ockham Residential and Booksellers Aotearoa for sponsoring this particular category. My first year at university, I had an amazing classics
lecturer who said, first piece of advice was never buy a book without pictures. And I think except for novels, my bookshelves are heavily weighted with illustrated non-fiction. And as a curator, it's always been such a pleasure to have any sort of involvement in the creation of a book. So I really want to, it has been a real honour. So, of course, I want to thank the judges, Chanel, Patrick and Jane, for taking my pink book seriously. A big thank you to Te Papa Press, especially Nicola Leggett and Claire Gibb, who helped produce the book. Te Papa Press is a very small but mighty team. And of course Kate Barraclough of Cape Francis Design. Again, it's such a wonderful process to see someone take a Word document and 300 JPEGs and turn them, just seamlessly, effortlessly into something very elegant and beautiful. And again, because we're illustrated, we created a lot of the images for Dressed ourselves, and I worked with an amazing team. So I thank, again, all our textile conservators at work, Sam Gatley, who did all the costume mounting, which is a magical skill, and Martin Hall, who did all the photography. And someone just recently described the photographs as being lovingly photographed, and he did such a beautiful job. So it's very much a team effort. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Claire, and thank you, Chanel and Jenna. The final award of the evening is the Jann Medlicott Acorn Prize for Fiction. At $60,000, the country's richest fiction writing prize, extraordinarily generous. Always keenly anticipated, this year's shortlist features 4 novels that explore contemporary and mythic worlds, family dynamics, twisted friendships, and time travel. So please welcome to the stage the 2022 finalists, Gigi Fenster for A Good Winter, published by Text. Brian Walper for Entanglement, published by Malcaron Press. Rebecca K. Riley for Greta and Valdine, published by Te Herenga Waka University Press. And Whiti Hereaka for Kurangaituku, published by Huia. Gigi, if you'd like to share your work.
Kia ora koutou. Before reading, I feel I should warn you that this character, the first person narrator, is not very nice. He said it was an amicable divorce. They were still friends. He said it wasn't his fault and it wasn't her fault. She discovered she was a lesbian. He said, these things happen. These things happen? Like discovering you're a lesbian is a thing that just happens. Like one day you wake up and find out there's a lesbian living in your body. Like one day you discover you've left your husband, you've shacked up with a woman, and you just shrug your shoulders and say, well, these things happen. And a while later, you find yourself walking down the aisle to get married to a woman, and the man you used to be married to is your best man, and everyone sitting in the pews just shrugs their shoulders and says, well, these things happen. My brother said he didn't mind being the best man in their wedding. Their wedding, for crying out loud. I didn't go. She invited me, but I didn't go. Why would I? Why would I go and watch my brother make a fool of himself? Why would I watch him shrug his shoulders and be cuckolded by a bunch of dykes? She cuckolded him, that Sonia. She cuckolded him with a skin and bones dyke with no hair and no tits, and I, for one, was not going to their wedding. It wasn't even a real wedding. It was just a trumped-up hippie nonsense with some queer friends of theirs making up a nonsense service, and my brother, the only non-homosexual man in the place, being the best man, trying so hard to prove he wasn't homophobic that he lost his dignity, trying so hard to be the good guy, that these things happen, I'll just smile and nod guy, trying so hard to respect her gay pride that he lost his own. He still loved her. I knew he still loved her. That's why I couldn't go to the wedding. I couldn't sit there and see my brother standing under some hippie flowered canopy, watching the woman he loves walking down the aisle. My brother handing a ring to the no-tits girlfriend she's about to marry, seeing the ring slide onto her finger and knowing that, yes, he does still love her. I couldn't sit there and watch my sad little brother push back the fringe that keeps falling in front of his eyes so that he could see the two of them taking their first kiss as wife and wife. I couldn't see that bit of fringe flopping back over his eyes as he folds himself, bends down from his great height to hug the woman who has just married the woman he loves. I couldn't watch my little brother brought so low. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. About a third of this book is someone responding to a series of writing prompts. This is one of them. Reinvigorate the following cliche: walks on water. He walks on water. He crosses the surface of the water, a sense of undulation beneath his shoes, the tapping of the toe causing at first slight splashes across the top of the shoes, then further ripples and undulations, so that with each step he is moving with greater motion, his balance more difficult to maintain until he is forced to run across the surface of the water. Run to keep up, to avoid falling, because he does not know whether he will sink or slap as he did the surface of the bouncy castle he and his brother jumped on at the county fair a few years before, his brother's higher jumps creating a series of swells that tossed him about, causing him to run to avoid falling inward toward the well of gravity that surrounded the brother. Then running as he's doing now, running across water, a lake stretched between the woods at his back and the farther shore that seems always to recede as he approaches, beyond which lies a white house with a walk whose stones are chipping and are yet to be replaced by parents who do not have heads for home maintenance, who are lost frequently in books and have little appreciation for the mold in the corner of the shower, the crack in the ceiling above the boy's bed, the water stain there spreading into the shapes of many shadows, a map of many countries, but who do appreciate their boy, their good boy, the smaller gestures such a boy can make, good grades, raking leaves, punctuality, good behavior. Remember nearly often enough to offer praise to the boy who goes to school each morning with a breath he holds all day, holds walking up the long hill to the bus stop, holds sitting on the bench in sun or rain, holds sitting on the bus's hard plastic seat, holds walking from class to class so carefully for fear his very breath will tip him off balance, for fear of the roiling water, the depths that await. Walking to, what would we do without you? You are beyond reproach, our golden boy, unfailing, you walk on water.
It's 1 minute 50, I timed it. I'm sure we can find something to watch if that's what you want to do. I nod and follow him into the living room, where I sit as far to one side of the couch as possible. I think that watching a movie is logically the best idea because I won't have to talk anymore, and the more tired I feel, the closer I feel to saying something weird. I think everything I've said up to this point has been pretty weird, but Sharby doesn't seem affected by any of the things I've said. I wonder how he feels about me being here. Other people's perceptions of me are very difficult for me to think about. Sometimes I forget I exist and that other people can see me until someone asks me to move so they can get off the bus, or I get recognized from my TV show. Sharby must know I exist because once we got stuck in an elevator together. Being stuck in an elevator is the kind of thing people remember. It was raining that day too. We had run back into my old apartment building from the street, car tires speeding through puddles. The man on the intercom had seemed mad at us when he said it would be an hour until we were rescued, as if we had really inconvenienced him by being stuck in an elevator. I wondered how often he was having to come and rescue people, and wouldn't the job be more suited to someone with a hero complex? Someone who took on the rescuing with a solemn sense of responsibility and pride? Being told off by the elevator man made me feel a certain way. Xabi thought there might be a camera in the elevator. I said there definitely wasn't, but I didn't really know. I didn't think anyone would be reviewing the tapes unless there was a crime committed in the building. And anyway, I didn't mind adding some interest to the investigation. I wonder if Xabi remembers that, or just that we were stuck in the elevator in general. He probably knows I exist now because he's looking at me, asking me what I want to watch, and I'm pointing at something, yeah, that looks good. And my head feels very heavy, and I want to ask him how much he remembers about the elevator, but it's enough just to keep my eyes open and look at Eddie Murphy and Coming to America. Thank you.
I'm rethinking my choices about such a long skirt. Anyway, tēnā koutou. I think I should mihi to Blackie and Tui. Thank you for having us here. Particularly because this story is very tarawa, so I want to acknowledge my status as a guest on your whenua. Here we go. A story does not live until it's told. The initial thought in the storyteller's head is a quickening. It is the spark of something. It is the beginning. This story does not dwell within me, but in the space between us. I cannot hold this story too tightly to myself. To live, it must have room to grow. Remember the story of how the gods separated the Sky Father, Ranganui, from his wife Papatuanuku, the Earth Mother. Rangi and Papa held each other in such a tight embrace that their children could not thrive. It is only when Tane Mahuta forced them apart that life could flourish. Is it not the same for a story? It lives in the telling. I live in the telling. But that is telling. I am a creature of words. I am a creature of imagination. I live on the edges of dreams and the margins of thought. I live in the whisper of the page. It is selfish then, this story. I want to be heard. I want to exist again, at least in your mind. I need to tell you this story so that you'll let me in and I can breathe again. Events slide in and out of view. The endless repetitions collide with one another and create a pattern that is reflected upon itself. I have trouble keeping all I've experienced in an order that you'll expect and understand. Beginning, middle, end, middle, beginning, te kore, te pō, te whao, te pō, te kore. So this is where we start. It is at once a beginning, a middle, and an end. Kia ora.
Thank you, Whiti, Rebecca, Brian, and Gigi. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please now welcome to the stage the convener of the Fiction Judge Prizes, Rob Kidd, and the generous donor of the country's richest literary prize, Jann Medlicott.
Kia ora koutou. How are you? I don't have anything planned, and it's a running theme, but I firstly want to thank my fellow judges, Gemma Brown, Kellyanne Mori, and John Freeman, who was our international judge. I can't say anything more about the authors. They've spoken far more eloquently than I could. So I'm from Lancashire, so I'll use the Lancashire vernacular. The four finalists for the award were proper good. But the winner of the 2022 Jann Medlicott Acorn Prize for Fiction was dead good. The winner is Whiti Hereaka or Kurangaituku.
I will share with you the judge's citation. The judges wrote, Kurangaituku is an extraordinary novel, unashamedly literary, utterly innovative, and yet still irrevocably rooted in all that is te ao Māori. It's an epic poem of a novel, resonant of Māori oral traditions. It gives a voice, form, and a name to the bird woman from the myth Hatupatu and the bird woman. The ogress Kurangaituku tells us not only her side of the story, but everything she knows about te ao Māori. It's not often that longing and mourning, desire and revenge can be seen so clearly, so movingly in a single book. Kurangaituku is poetic, intense, clever, and sexy as hell. It's also an important novel, a true game changer. Congratulations.
I really hope that's online because I wasn't listening to any of that. And also, I'm another one of the writers that hasn't written anything, which is kind of funny, us being writers, that we've avoided writing these thanks. So here we go, off the cuff, off the very long cuffs. I have to mihi again to mana whenua. Thank you for having me on your whenua tonight. Also, a mihi to all the other writers who were longlisted, who were shortlisted, hell, who even got books out. It's an amazing achievement. And I think we're all richer for all of the books that have been out in the past year. I'm mihi also to the book awards organisers. Thank you so much. This means the world to me. And I think I have to give a huge shout out to Jann. This is an amazing gift. Thank you so much for this. Also, this book wouldn't be what it is without the support of Huia publishers. They have been my support for the very long time this book took to write. And also, they took a chance on the strange structure. And the design team did a beautiful job on the book itself. It's a beautiful object. Oh, I say everyone. I'm very sorry if I've forgotten people. Shout out to my family. Thank you so much for all your support over the many years I've been toiling away at Kurangaituku. But probably the biggest mihi has to go to Kurangaituku herself. I have to say that because she'll get me if I don't. No, just kidding. She's been an inspiration in my life for a very long time. So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Kia ora.
A massive congratulations to the 2022 winner of the Jann Medlicott Acorn Prize for Fiction, Whiti Hereaka. And thank you, Rob and Jann. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Peter Malcaron of Ockham Residential, the award's naming sponsor for the last 7 years, to the stage just to say a few words before we wrap up for the evening.
Tēnā koutou katoa, and good evening. I'm Peter Malcaron from Ockham, here before you tonight because our Captain Mark Todd has COVID, and our backup demagogue, Ockham co-founder Benjamin Preston, is at this very moment meeting a brother marooned overseas until tonight for the first time in 3 years. Now, both these experiences are unexceptional. Everyone here tonight has their own variations of the story to tell. This is the third edition of the COVID-befuddled Book Awards. You'll remember the first, the virtual Ockham, starring Stacey Morrison, I think the Ockham's equal best MC, a glowing backlit Jacinda, Becky Manawatu and her whānau, Shane Carter, Helen Rickaby, and live stream Chaos. It took place towards the end of the first lockdown, that strange time that already seems a decade ago, where we hoarded loo paper, installed teddies in our front windows, went for more walks, and finally found time to read books. We didn't know it then, but this would be the apogee of the team of 5 million. For a fleeting few weeks, we marvelled at the freshness of the air, the loaves we baked, the birds we could now hear. We rediscovered neighbours, found our communities, often for the first time. We're in a very different place now, too busy, too stressed, too angry and over it all, to find time to think or imagine a better, more thoughtful Aotearoa. It would be glib to suggest our writers have all the answers, but now more than ever we need their questions. Challenging assumptions about how we live and quietly assembling 50 years of evidence. Heartfelt thanks here to young Dave Lowe. Exposing middle management false prophets, skewering the vain, the grasping and preposterous. Being critical, being self-critical sometimes, but not being boring. And in the meantime, allowing us to dream and wonder, to have fun or to cry, as we live in another world through their words. It is an immense privilege for Ockham to be associated with these purveyors of magic. To the 8 winners tonight, the 16 short listees, the 40 long listees, the 160 entrants, thank you. Thank you also to the librarians, the booksellers, and teachers. I've met a number of teachers tonight. I think teachers are amazing, fantastic. It's an honour too to be part of the wider Book Awards whānau, Creative New Zealand, the Crystal Arts Trust, Booksellers Aotearoa New Zealand, the Academy of New Zealand Literature, Mary and Peter Biggs, the Acorn Foundation, and the legend Jann Medlicott. Also mention, of course, to the New Zealand Book Awards Trust themselves, to my beloved old editor Nicola Liggett, to Belinda Bookcook, she doesn't like that nickname, but I hope she doesn't mind, and someone who hasn't been mentioned tonight actually, Penny Harthill, who's an extraordinary publicist and does an incredible job year after year. This is our 7th year as part of the crew. It is a partnership, we could say, with the hubris only property developers can muster. We hope lasts 70 years more. We're here for the duration, for as long as we're welcome. Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations to our winning writers and books, and thank you for the imagination, accomplishment and commitment to excellence demonstrated by all of our finalists and their publishers. It has been a pleasure to join you this evening, whether in person or via the live stream, celebrating the Ockham New Zealand Book Awards and the very best of contemporary writing in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Thank you so much for being part of this event and for supporting our vibrant literary culture. Before we wrap, please a massive thanks to our musicians, Sai Folau in the back line. You don't need me to remind you of this, but all of the books that you have heard tonight are available for purchase in the bar area, where you're welcome to join us now for a celebratory drink. If you would prefer to avoid crowds, hey aha, that's no problem. Just leave the theatre through the back doors and that will take you out to Grays Avenue. Masks are encouraged for everyone in the transitional areas like stairwells and exits. Kia hau maru te haere, please be safe. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.